Hello, everybody. Welcome into the Fantasy Pros Football Podcast. I'm Ryan Wormley, joined today for a PPR mock draft. I'm joined by Pat Fitzmaurice, Terrell Furman, Derek Brown, and 8 of our friends. We are joined by a lot of users from Reddit today, so we appreciate everybody in the Reddit community for supporting us and for joining in on today's draft. We've also got a couple of members on the Discord channel to help fill out our 12-team PPR mock draft. Like I said, just a quick note for everybody, today's live PPR mock draft is done using our mock draft lobby over at fantasypros.com/draftwizard. Just like you'll see today, our multi-user drafts allow you to practice quick and fun mock drafts against both real and CPU opponents using the same easy-to-use interface as our draft simulator. You can join a public mock draft, or you can easily invite your friends to a private mock draft. Check it out today over at fantasypros.com/draftwizard. Guys, it's pretty straightforward. I believe I set it up so there's no defenses and kickers because that seems like a waste of time. But it should be basically just your standard PPR mock draft, 1 quarterback, 3 wide receivers, et cetera, et cetera. We've got myself picking 3rd, Debro is picking 5th, Fitz is picking 8th, and Terrell is picking 10th. And then the rest of the picks are a bunch of folks who have joined us along. So let's go ahead and get started here and unpause the draft, and we'll get going with the first pick. Debro, coming into this draft, do you have a specific strategy you're trying to implement here, or just kind of see how the board falls?
See how the board falls. I'm going to keep it easy, man. I think like when you're sitting in the middle of the first round, top 5 pick, it just kind of comes down to like who's there. If I have my choice of guys, I mean, it's probably Jamar Chase, Bijan Robinson, Tyreek Hill is the short list for me. So we'll see who gets there.
All right, that makes sense. Fitz, what about you? What's your strategy coming in?
I always want to hit wide receiver pretty hard in the early rounds if you are in a league where you're required to start 3 receivers every week. So generally, I'm taking wide receivers with like 4 of my first 5 picks.
You've been on that point for a while about the format being really important about if you're going running back or wide receiver. Terrell, what's your kind of strategy picking towards the end of the first round?
Yeah, I'm looking more wide receiver towards the end of the first round. At this spot at 10, I mean, it's pretty clear and obvious if you know me. Garrett Wilson is 100%, my guy at that point. If I have a league of record where I have the 10th pick, that's kind of why I picked it in this one. But if I come out with Garrett Wilson in the first round every single time at 10, I feel really, really good about how I started.
I went with Jamar Chase at 103. I've been kind of on the I have Chase ahead of Tyreek train for most of the offseason, so I figured I'd stick with that here. I definitely get the case for Tyreek being ahead, but ultimately, like Fitz was kind of laying out, in a PPR, 3 wide receiver starting type of league, as much as I feel FOMO not getting Bijan or Breece, I feel like you have to go with one of those elite trio of wide receivers. Debro, you do go off wide receiver because those 3 guys were gone for you.
Yeah, I went Bijan here. I mean, most of these mocks have played out where I've done a lot of 0 RB teams. I've done a lot of heavy wide receiver early teams. And so really, I mean, look, Bijan's my RB1 this year. Wanted to draft him here and kind of see where the rest of the draft plays out.
Amon-Ra St. Brown goes next at the 6th pick. Breece Hall goes 7th, which left a wide receiver for Fitz at 8.
Justin Jefferson.
Ooh, baby.
And part of picking in the 8th spot, I kind of wanted to see if Justin Jefferson was going to fall to me, and I thought he would. I know Debro is with me in the idea that we're not fading Jefferson at all, even with the J.J. McCarthy injury. And Debro's a big J.J. McCarthy fan, but Sam Darnold floated a pretty good season for DJ Moore a few years ago, where Moore, with Darnold as his primary quarterback, had like 93 catches and 1,100 yards. So I'm not worried. And if anything happens to Darnold, they're going to put in Nick Mullins, who might throw, 3 interceptions a game, but does throw to his receivers aggressively downfield. So you don't mind if he has to be the guy for the Vikings. The Vikings fans might mind, but fantasy managers who have Justin Jefferson will not.
Well, the manager at 109 has Skull in his name, so I'm assuming you sniped him on Justin Jefferson, although I suppose we don't know for sure. Terrell is back on the clock in round 2. He did get Garrett Wilson in the first round, so a very unsurprising pick once he fell there. What are you thinking about here, Terrell?
Well, I was going to go Marvin Harrison Jr., and I was going to try that heavy heavy wide receiver look. He fell. I'm kind of not interested anymore. I'm just going to go with another wide receiver that I have really high on my board, and that's Devontae Adams. Like, I understand the age is a factor in the quarterback play, but even with O'Connell last year, he was still a really, really good wide receiver. I think another year with the system that Antonio Pierce is trying to involve him and his quarterback in, I think that he's going to be really, really good. And he's going to get a target hog. Like, it's going to be him, maybe a little bit of the tight end, maybe some Jacoby Myers, but it's a lot of Devontae Adams still.
Debro, interesting strategy here on the back end where the 10th team, which was Terrell, and then our two participants at 11 and 12, all doubled up. We have double wide receivers at 10 and 12, and we have double running backs with the 11th picking team. What do you think about that strategy at the back end of the first round of doubling up on whatever position it is?
Yeah, I mean, for me, if I'm drafting at the back end of the first round, nice pick, Fitz. Then a lot of times I'm doubling up on wide receivers. And this is not really that I dislike Jonathan Taylor and Saquon Barkley, but I'm willing to take Gibbs at that spot. I feel like it's a little bit high for those two guys, but I still like the mix of wide receiver there. So usually it just leads me down to a wide receiver heavy team.
While Debro's on the clock here, Fitz, what were you thinking with the Olave pick there to pair him with Justin Jefferson?
He's kind of been my default middle of the second round pick. Just thinking that he is going to have a massive target share for the Saints. Really, like, they don't have a lot of pass catching firepower at their other receiver spots. No one's had a 50 catch season at wide receiver on the Saints other than Olave. They don't have much at tight end. Alvin Kamara is certainly going to get his share of receptions, but Olave is primed for a big target share. And we kind of saw that in the preseason. I know Derek Carr only attempted 9 passes, but 4 of them were intended for Olave.
And then, Debro, you do go with another young receiver on the board. Of course, you were sniped on Drake London, but you still went with a receiver.
Yeah, my pain immediately was getting sniped immediately on Drake London. Good job, Crafty. Appreciate you. Respect. Real knows real. But with Michael Pittman, I mean, he was the other guy that I had in my queue, and people could be surprised or kind of wary about having him as a wide receiver 1. If you look at last year, he was the wide receiver 11 in expected fantasy points per game. So I think looking at, are we going to get better quarterback play? Like, come on. Like, I know everybody's kind of worried about like what kind of quarterbacking play we get out of Anthony Richardson. You do all realize it was freaking Gardner Minshew last year throwing him the ball, right? Like, Minshew is not great. I don't think it's that much to ask better quarterback play out of Richardson, and I think we get it this year. So Pittman, I have him as a wide receiver 1 in my ranks. Really comfortable with him there.
I went with Jalen Waddle at the 210, and my thought process there was like you could maybe get him in the early third, but I'm really comfortable with the other players that are going to be available with my next pick, and I just wanted to double up at receiver as well, given the format. Obviously, Waddle kind of a high floor and a potential high ceiling guy, so I was happy with that pick. I know that in PPR, I'm up again here with the 303. I know that in PPR, he's less valuable, but I've just been on the Derrick Henry train all season. I'm not going to not get him in this mock. You know what? Touchdowns are still worth 6 in PPR also, and I think he's going to get a whole lot of them. So to pair him with a couple of wide receivers I really like, I love that start with Chase, Waddle, and Henry. Debra, who are you looking at here with your next pick that you're hoping to fall just one pick away?
I've got a few different guys that I'm looking at. Like, it's kind of like a shelf of Nico Collins. I'm also kind of debating, do I go with running back kind of in these first 3 rounds? I'm kind of worried it's going to put me too far behind the 8 ball with wide receiver, but let's live dangerously here. Devon Achane. Sorry, Fitz. Love you.
That would have been your pick, right, Fitz?
Oh, yeah. No question.
If Henry wasn't available, he might have been my pick too. I mean, I love the pure ups. Again, we've talked about it all offseason, but he's the type of player where if you hit on him, you win your league. It's as simple as that. Like,
maybe I'm just intoxicated by seeing the preseason action with Devon Achane lining up out wide and then running routes in the preseason out wide. I'm like, do we get that in the regular season, man? Like, if it does.
I really like the running backs.
5.
I really like the running backs in this round. I mean, Derrick Henry 303, Achane 305, Pacheco 306.
Yeah.
I love all, even with the 3 wide receiver format and PPR, I love all of those picks. Terrell, what do you think about those running backs?
I mean, that's really the end of a tier for me. Like, at that point, I'm not really interested in some of the running backs that come after. Maybe I can sell myself on White, but not really interested in Kamara, Josh Jacobs too much, Joe Mixon, maybe a Cook, but not really. Like, that just kind of ends a tier for me where I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going all in on this no RB build until at least another round.
Fitz, you took Neighbors. I thought it was too early for me to take him in round 3, but Like, truthfully, I just want him on my team. So obviously I did pass and take the running back I really believe in. But, we've talked in some shows about neighbors with an ADP maybe in the round 5 range, late round 4. That just continues to creep up. And I'm really curious to see where it'll land as we get into like the first week of September, where that ADP is. But you take him here in the back half of the 3rd.
That's it, Worm. A few weeks ago, I would have waited until the 4th round, knowing that I would probably be able to get him in all likelihood. Now, I don't want to wait anymore. I think people are starting to get clued into the fact that he is going to be a high volume receiver for the Giants. And I know a lot of people are worried about Daniel Jones being able to facilitate Neighbors, to unlock him and fully tap into that talent. I'm not that worried. I mean, like, Daniel Jones was decent 2 years ago when Brian Daboll first got there. I know he got off to a rough start before the injury last year, but like, I think Daniel Jones can do enough to make Malik Neighbors a 1,200-yard receiver in his rookie year.
There are 2 teams in this mock so far who have started off wide receiver. Fitz is one of them, and Terrell, you're the other.
Yeah, very much so. I can't pass up on DJ Moore. I think that he's clear-cut the number 1 in this offense that I now believe has the quarterback that's going to be able to take him into the stratosphere. We saw what Sam Darnold turned DJ Moore into. Like, I just think that Caleb Williams is such a better quarterback and a better offensive system right now. And DJ Moore is still going to have another big year.
I love it. You're back on the clock here. Are you going to go for the 4th wide receiver or finally shake things up?
I'm going to shake things up a little bit. I didn't think he was getting back to me, and so I want to go ahead and grab him now.
I was hoping Trey McBride would get back to me, but I was like, Deebro's probably going to take him, and of course,
he wasn't.
Somebody else that took him. Yeah, I love that pick.
Yeah, I think I'm so bullish on this Cardinals offense. I think this Cardinals offense is going to be really good, and they may be one of the better over teams in the league where they just give up a bunch of points, but they constantly find ways to get the ball to their playmakers.
I love it. I'm absolutely buying the Cardinals as an ascending offense. Fitz, you do go with the 4th straight wide receiver here.
DK Metcalf available in the early 4th. Seemed like a screaming value to me. I think it's reached the point where people are somewhat bored with DK Metcalf, and he is going for a lower price than we've seen him go at since like his rookie year. So I'll take the discount. And he's still, even if we get a Jackson Smith and Jigba breakout this year, DK is still going to be the number 1 receiver in Seattle.
So what's your plan going forward, Fitz, having 4 receivers already? Are you trying to hit on some of these running backs in the middle rounds? Are you saying you're leaning into a 0 RB build? So let's take some luxury picks at quarterback and tight end. What's the strategy when you start with 4 straight receivers?
Yeah, now I'm gonna start hitting the running back position pretty hard, but just wanted to collect top tier. Like, I got all wide receivers who are in my top 20 right now, 4 of those guys. So now I can be a little more selective as the receiver group gets picked through a little bit and the options aren't as appealing. Now it's time to turn my attention to the other positions.
I'm on the board here. I've got 2 receivers and a running back. I would have taken McBride if he was there. Obviously, he wasn't. I think I might just lean into the very high ceiling and take Anthony Richardson. It's not something I typically do, but I mean, late 4th is earlier than I almost always go with a quarterback. Guys like Hurts, Allen, Mahomes, and Lamar were already off the board. I didn't love the running back and receiver options as much as just the chance of he could be QB1 and are huge. In a 1 quarterback format, I want a quarterback that I think could be a legitimate difference maker rather than going for some of those depths like they're surefire starter guys that I might in a super flex. And so Richardson totally fits that bill. And again, he's similar to HN where the upside is if he hits, like you are cruising and sitting really pretty there. Deeper, what do you think about that pick of Richardson? And then also you picked Amari Cooper.
Yeah, I love the pick of Richardson. I mean, I think it's definitely, he goes in the 4th, 5th round. I think it's justified. And with Cooper, yeah, it's just locking in volume, man. Like, I'm not high on the Browns offense overall, but we saw Cooper was quarterback proof last year in the sense of Deshaun Watson was horrific and Cooper was still awesome. So I'm not going to like shade that like he can't do that yet again this year. So really just trying to kind of catch up at wide receiver, which I feel pretty good. I mean, I got Pittman, I got Cooper. And right now, I almost took him with my last pick, but I thought maybe he got to this pick. I'm going to take my guy, Terry McLaurin.
I considered him. I ultimately went
Yep.
for a tight end because I wanted to get one of the elite guys, and I didn't think they would get back to me. And I knew I was passing on McLaurin, but I very strongly considered him with my 5th round pick. We've talked about it, Debra. You and I are holding hands on this one. I adore McLaurin this year.
Yeah, man. I got him in my top 24. I think he can smash. I don't think that him being a wide receiver 1 this year is also out of the question, but I think also to the bigger point that, like, I know it's boring and I know it's old school to look at going running back in your first 2 picks or your first 3 picks or something like that. Like, and I'm not shading going zero running back. Like, I've done that in multiple drafts, but also looking at how the board plays out, I'm fine because I think you can kind of catch up at wide receiver to a certain extent. Like, I know the comments might not be crazy about like, oh, look at his wide receiver room. I like these guys. It's locked in volume. And I think all these guys are going to be top 24 options when it's all said and done this year.
The reverse side of that is Fitz, who does take his first running back. And I got to say, Fitz, starting 4 wide receivers, if you can get your first running back as Kenneth Walker, I think that is fantastic.
Yeah.
3 down running back Kenneth Walker.
Right. I mean, he's one of the last of that running back 2 tier that I feel really comfortable with. Although Joe Mixon was still on the board at the time, I would have been okay with him. But then there's a little bit of a drop off, I think, from like the Mixon, Walker, James Cook level down to, I guess, Aaron Jones and even Alvin Kamara. Kamara actually went before Walker, and maybe that's justifiable in full point PPR. But I don't know. I'm a little more comfortable with that class, the Cook, the Walker, the Mixon level than I am with the, I feel like there's a gap between those guys and Kamara and Aaron Jones.
When Walker is among those names you just listed, the one who I most think could finish as an RB1 this year.
Yeah, no running back in the NFL has forced more missed tackles over the last few years.
I love
good.
I really love a lot of these picks in the 5th round. Like, I took Dalton Kincaid because I really wanted to get an elite tight end, an ascending tight end. I love the Terry McLaurin pick. I love the Kenneth Walker pick. I like the Ramondre Stevenson pick from Terrell too.
Yeah, I mean, Ramondre Stevenson is a guy that I had listed as a bounce back candidate this year just because he missed the end of the season last year with injury. But prior to that, he was really, really good. I mean, weeks 1 through 13, he was an RB20. He's top 4 in yards per route run, yards per rush, yards after contact per attempt. Like, I think Ramondre Stevenson now in this offense, and the fact that they're still trying to figure it out, they want Drake May to succeed. It's going to be a lot of checkdowns to the running back, a lot of screen work, and that's where he thrives.
Have you been hungry for some college football? Well, we finally get a taste this weekend. Don't miss any of the action. Jump in at DraftKings Sportsbook. It's a small but mighty slate of games for week 0, including a big matchup in Ireland. This is going to be DraftKings' biggest college football season to date. Enjoy the ride now all the way through the expanded playoffs, plus all newbies getting into the college spirit. Here's extra something special. New DraftKings customers bet $5 to get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Score big with DraftKings all college football season long. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code FantasyPros. That's code FantasyPros for new customers to get $200 in bonus bets when you bet just $5. Only on DraftKings. The crown is yours. All right, some catch up here. Fitz, you took James Conner, so doubling down on running back after that wide receiver start. And again, I really like that pick too. I mean, Walker and Conner together with those receivers, you have one of my favorite starts of anybody in this draft.
Yeah, not a super sexy pick, but he is going to be the undisputed lead back for the Cardinals, at least until he misses games. And probably inevitable that James Conner is going to miss games. He seems to miss at least a few every year, but while he's in there, dual run catch threats in what might be an ascendant offense. But I did seriously consider George Kittle there, who I think is like criminally undervalued in drafts this year, and was thinking that maybe I might be able to grab him in the next round. But Crafty quickly put an end to that dream scenario I had.
Debra, you took sort of the final one of these tight ends that I think falls into at least the top 2 tiers.
Go ahead, Terrell. You were going to say something?
No, I just want to. So, with the Ayuk situation, are we drafting Kittle as if Ayuk's not going to be there, or is it they're going to figure it out at some point? Because I think that Kittle, like Fitz said, Kittle's criminally underdrafted right now. If Ayuk's gone, what is this, like a whole nother round in ADP? He probably grows.
He should,
yeah,
and I agree. He is like never being overdrafted. Like he is either underdrafted or drafted at a reasonable price point. It seems like in this year's fantasy drafts, and there is like room for his target share to grow. But even if it doesn't, yeah, we know there are going to be games where he is sort of used in more of a run blocking capacity. The game plan always sort of changes for Kittle week to week. But man, like if you get not much out of him, there are always going to be tight ends with down weeks, but those good weeks for Kittle like can win you a week almost single-handedly. So that's what I'm playing for. Like the upside, the weekly upside far outweighs the weekly downside in my mind.
Yeah, I'm totally with you. I think Kittle is being disrespected, to be honest. And I had to take Kyle Pitts in my last pick because I was worried. And we've all talked about this, like getting into that elite tight end tier. Kittle and Pitts are the end of that for me. And this is no shade to Evan Ingram, but if you look at the splits with Christian Kirk last year and without him, he was not an elite tight end. Maybe he, continues what he did at the back end of last year, this season, but I don't know, man. I am going to take another one of my love list guys. Come on, Christian Watson, playing catch up at wide receiver. Let's go.
I ended up taking with my 2 picks Deontay Johnson. Obviously, with this being PPR, that was really important to me. I'm not super worried about like the groin stuff that he's dealing with right now. When he's on the field, he's going to get every target from Bryce Young. And then I took Brian Robinson because I know who I'm drafting with, and I knew he wasn't going to get back to me. And I wanted, I love him as a second running back paired with Derrick Henry. I'm really excited about that pick paired with everybody else I have on the team. So those are my 2 picks there.
Look for the part where I slump over. That's exactly when I realized that he drafted Brian Robinson. Like, oh my gosh.
This is a sharp room too, boys. You'll see all the quarterbacks are kind of falling in this draft too. Yeah. So, not trying to talk the table too much, but definitely why I would not have even considered quarterback here because they're all kind of getting lumped up together right now.
I think that's smart. If I wanted to make the upside swing with a guy like Anthony Richardson, but if I hadn't chosen to opt for that, like I would not have been taking any of these guys in the last several rounds. I think waiting on quarterback in this format, especially with, Stroud is available, Burrow, Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, Brock Purdy, Jaden Daniels. There's a lot of names that are still on the board at that position. Fitz, you do take a tight end that you've been talking about all offseason.
Flag plant player Brock Bowers, and Draft Intel told me there was a 95% chance that I would have been able to get Bowers in the next round. I didn't want to take that chance, although that was probably right. I think this guy's one of the best tight end prospects we've ever had come into the NFL. And he's this versatile weapon who can line up inline, outside, in the slot, in the backfield. And I was kind of worried that Luke Getsy might not be the offensive coordinator to fully tap that versatility. But so far, so good in the preseason. He has been lining up Brock Bowers all over the formation. So I'm pretty excited about that.
And then, Terrell, you took a running back that I was hoping might fall back to me. I didn't really think he would, but Javonte Williams, I'm starting to really love him as a mid-round pick this year.
Yeah, I am. And I've gotten to a point that I wanted to back him too. And so, I feel pretty decent at running back. I have a number of guys in Zamir White, Ramondre Stevenson, Javonte Williams, that between those 3, I feel pretty confident any given week. So I just wanted to give me some more depth at that position. And then I like a lot of wide receivers in the back end of the draft. So I think I'm going to just hammer wide receiver home the rest of the way.
You did take a quarterback here, Tua Tagovailoa. What was the thought process taking him with guys like, not just Burrow and Jordan Love, Dak Prescott, James? There's a lot of names on the board. So why'd you go for Tua as your pick at quarterback?
I think Tua at this point, I just saw it as I think Tua could still finish around the QB1 range with just Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, what this offense, and I also just heard Tua talk about the difference between Mike McDaniel and Brian Flores and how they talked about him and how much confidence he has. And Tua with confidence is a really, really dangerous quarterback. So if I feel like I still have an edge there in the 8th round at quarterback, and I didn't feel like, I wanted to catch it before the run. Like I did want the run of quarterbacks to go and everybody start taking quarterback and I'd be stuck in the back end. So I just went ahead and kicked it off. And well, look, Joe Burrow goes to Debro now.
Yeah, Debro, why'd you pick Burrow over guys like Love and Prescott?
I don't have Prescott in my top 12, so he wasn't even in consideration, just to be totally transparent. I've got Prescott at QB 14, got a lot of worries and questions with him. But Burrow, I've got a QB 7. Like, he's in my tier 2 guys, the top of the tier, and I think Cincinnati is just going to absolutely just chuck it this year. I think Burrow's arguably got the best set of starting wide receivers that he's had previously. And I know that people could hate that. But look, combination of Andre Yoshivas and Jermaine Burton are probably more talented than Tyler Boyd, and you have T. Higgins back there. I think that they're going to air it out this year, man. I think Burrow's got top 3, top 5 upside still. Golly, Worm, just
I just took Devin Singletary, which is not a very inspiring pick, and I don't even I don't make that pick and feel super thrilled about it. But
it's a left him on the board then.
It's a volume play.
You could have left him on the board. Just saying.
It's a volume play. It's a good value. Fitz, we skipped over your pick. A lot of rookies in this round. Jonathan Brooks went, Ladd McConkey went, and you took Xavier Worthy.
I'm excited about that sort of speed being at the disposal of Andy Reid, the mad scientist, and Patrick Mahomes, one of the best pure passers in the league. So, yeah, you're right. I shouldn't qualify that. So,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited about Worthy, especially with this Hollywood Brown injury, maybe giving him an opening in the first couple of weeks to really get some serious target counts.
Man, I really wanted to get Chase Brown back in the early 9th. He went at the turn with the 8-12.
Quite a running back run here.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I will not be taking another running back. We've got now a wide receiver run to start off round 9 with Brian Thomas, Jordan Addison, and Josh Palmer. For me, the Palmer pick is simply about, I think they'll throw enough that if you're the top target for a Justin Herbert offense, which I expect Palmer to be, that's something I want a piece of. And I think 9th round is totally fine value for something like that, even though he's still ranked in the 50s at his position. I think that'll end up looking too low by the time we get into the season. Debra on the board. You do take Jaylen Warren, some injury question marks there. Obviously, don't scare you off.
I mean, I feel like it's priced where he went in this draft. I mean, he fell kind of in this draft, probably a round past his ADP. Taking him in the 9th kind of prices that in. And right now, as my RB3, I'm not counting on him being in my starting lineup right now. I mean, if everything goes according to plan, Bijan and Achane crush. If anything happens to Najee and Warren comes back healthy, I mean, look, then we're talking about winning from the flex here. So really, it was just more catching falling value than anything.
Fitz finally takes a quarterback himself. I love Jordan Love this year a lot, and back half of the 9th round, I think that's absolutely fantastic by you.
Yeah, my favorite way to tap into the young talent the Packers have at wide receiver by just tapping into all of it collectively at once rather than drilling down on a single guy, because I think that is going to be sort of a moving target week to week, and it's going to be tough to know when to start them. Even though I am individually high on all those components, I'd rather just take Jordan Love and kind of get it all.
Terrell, you go to a running back again. So 4 of your last 5 picks have been running backs. Obviously, you started off with 3 receivers. Tell us about why you picked Jerome Ford.
Yeah, this is the tier of running backs that I really feel good about. And Jerome Ford, I think that without Nick Chubb, he still has all the opportunity to be a really, really good back. He was really, really serviceable for fantasy outside of Nick Chubb, and I think that that's not going to change anything. And so if I can sit there and I have between Javonte Williams, Amir White, Ramondre Stevenson, Jerome Ford to pick from, I feel really, really good about that depth. And again, I still feel good about wide receivers coming back. I would have took Curtis Samuel, but Mahomelander sniped him a few picks ahead of me, so that kind of threw off my plan. So shirt up the running back room. I still like a lot of wide receivers coming down the stretch.
Debra, as we sit here, is there anybody whose build you really like or whose team so far really stands out to you as, other than your own, one that you would be happy to manage? I'll say for me, it's Fitz's. Fitz probably has the favorite
dang
build.
It, you got me. Yeah, that's exactly where I was going, man. I love Fitz's team so far. The combination of volume running backs that he got, plus starting freaking Justin Jefferson. Again, we talked about not fading him. Love him. He still has wide receiver 1 overall upside this year. And Olave and Metcalf. I had Olave and Metcalf in my queues, and as soon as Fitz took them, I just quietly winced. So love his team build. I do worry a little bit about Bowers, but I do understand taking the upside shot with him if you miss out on the elite tier tight end. So
if he's right about Bowers, there's no holes in that team.
Yeah.
No, it's an amazing team.
You're coming up here on another pick, Debra.
Yep. I got a few different guys.
And then he
queued
ruins
up
it by
here.
taking Ezekiel Elliott.
I almost
And then he
Hey,
immediately
hold
ruins
on.
it. He immediately ruins it by
Hold
taking
on.
Ezekiel
Okay.
Elliott.
All right.
I mean, when you can take the
No,
RB2 on
Terrell.
Dallas, you got it, right?
Terrell
Like,
throwing shade at me. Dude,
that's okay. I mean, look, Fitz, I'll make you feel better. I'm going to select the real RB1 for Dallas right there. So
Fitz was like, his offensive line isn't great, so he needs some more pass protection out of his running back room.
the thing is, like,
approach to this.
Zeke was like this PPR cheat code last year when he was playing for the Patriots. Like, they were targeting him heavily, and I don't think Dowdle is going to get more targets than Zeke this year.
oh, I'll bet that.
All right.
Ooh.
We're on, buddy.
Fitz, yeah. Let's
We're on
talk
some
off air.
Some sort of
We
bourbon
need some
bet
conditions
coming here.
Oh, done. Done.
See, Worm, now I do have regrets, though. That's the lottery ticket I want to have in my pocket.
Blake Corum.
Yes.
Mm.
That's who I just took here. I was considering most of the players I like best at this point are I like a lot of the tight ends available, but I already have Dalton Kincaid and I didn't want to double up there. So I figured if I'm going to take a lottery ticket, I want it to be a guy like Blake Corum, who, I mean, there's a path if there's an injury to him being an RB1 almost every week. And even if there's not an injury, there's a path to him at least being a contributor.
Or if Sean McVay wakes up on the wrong side of bed and just decides, let's just give Blake Corum the ball from now on. Like, this is the guy who changes running backs like he changes his underwear. So as much as the Kyron Williams hype is there, and I understand and I see it, it's been since Todd Gurley that we haven't seen this team just stick by a running back for their duration. Like, they've 1 year is this guy, 1 year is this guy, 1 year is this guy. That's really the whole thing about Blake Corum for me is just a fade on Sean McVay and running backs.
I took a second quarterback here, Jaden Daniels, and to me, it was two thoughts going on in my head. One is that we did see Anthony Richardson only play 4 games last year, so that's somewhat in the back of my mind about potential injury risk, the way he runs. And the other is that I just think the 11th round is too darn late for Jaden Daniels, even in a 1 QB league. Like, I just, like, the upside is immense. He could be a top 5 quarterback this year in fantasy, given the rushing. So if I'm pairing him with Richardson, I'm confident that one of them will stay healthy at least. And it was just, it's maybe not what I would do in a real draft. If I'm taking a quarterback in the first 5 rounds, I'm typically not going to take a second. But I just absolutely could not pass up Jaden Daniels in the 11th round. And Debra, I know you're a big fan of his as well.
Yeah, I was going to say we all done messed up if Worm got Jaden Daniels to fall to him in the 11th round. I put that on all of us. We all messed up.
It's just too late. Like, it doesn't matter that I already had a quarterback. It's too late for Jaden Daniels.
Yeah,
and Debro made the most predictable draft in the history of fantasy football at 11:05 with Jaleel McLaughlin, which would have been my pick had he fallen, but I obviously knew he wasn't going to fall there.
I am so annoyed that Mahomelander took J.K. Dobbins.
I know. This is the second time.
I could get him in the 12th. I love that. That's one of my favorite values on the board. I've been all over Dobbins this offseason.
I love that for you, Worm. I love that for you.
That was absolutely brutal. Terrell, were you going to take Dobbins too?
100%. He was queued up, and this is the second time that Mahomelander, he took Curtis Samuel from me. He also took Dobbins from me. I don't like this guy, even though he loves my Mahomes love with the Homelander line. I just don't like this guy. He constantly snipes me.
He's a fan of the Boys TV show, which I respect. But yeah, that Dobbins picks hurt me. I guess that's a lesson for me that I can't wait till round 12 to get him. He's continuing to move up drafts. The hype at training camp has been really significant. So if I want to get him, I got to take him early. Fitz, you double up at tight end, and I love the pairing of Bowers with the guy that you took here.
Yeah, and I know that Bowers isn't 100% foolproof. I do think it's going to work out for him, but just in case it doesn't, if he's done in by the play calling of Luke Getsy and the quarterbacking of Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell, it's nice to have a fallback. And Pat Freiermuth, although I know Arthur Smith is generally not considered a good thing for any fantasy assets who are under his command, he did the collective targets, receptions, yardage for the tight ends in Atlanta last year. In total, pretty impressive. Now, it wasn't as focused on Pitts as we would have liked it to have been, and maybe that'll be the case with Freiermuth, but pretty solid guy to get here in late tight end 1, early tight end 2 range.
Anybody who knows me knows there's basically nothing in the world I love more than going to baseball games all summer long. In fact, I've already made plans to attend not one, not two, but all 3 Orioles games out here in Denver when they play the Rockies at the end of this month. And to make sure I get the best seats for those games at the best price, I turned to Game Time. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. I'll be planning ahead for the O Series, of course, but one of my favorite things about Game Time is the last minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last minute for not just sports, but concerts, comedy, theater, and more. 2 other features that I love for how much it takes the frustration out of ticket buying are Game Time seat views, showing your view from the seat before you buy, and all-in pricing, so I know the total upfront with no hidden fees. Game Time is simple to use, but more importantly, the app gives me all the information I need to make an easy ticket purchase. So this summer, take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code FantasyPros for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code FANTASYPROS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. All right, some catch up here. Terrell, you've made a couple of picks. Dontavian Wicks and Antonio Gibson.
I only made one. The other one was an accident. I was looking for a player and I couldn't find that player and I didn't have that person queued up and I dropped the ball. But
let that be a lesson. Make sure you have your cue set.
I know. I'm really disappointed because I know he's not going to make it back to me now.
Was Wicks the player that you were intending to pick at 11-10?
Oh, 100%. 100%. I'm sold on Dontavian Wicks, and I'm sold on his Green Bay offense overall, and the fact that we have a wide receiver room where nobody in the wide receiver room can stay healthy, and the strength and conditioning coach somehow has a job. Like, I'm 100% bought into, hey, maybe something falls right, falls left, and Wicks has a bigger workload than I already project him for. But as of right now, I think he's going to outperform this ABP.
Fitz, you took Ray Davis, a pick who's also, a player who's playing really well so far in August.
Yeah, looked terrific in the second preseason game. And he finds creases and he makes yardage after contact. Looked really sharp last week. And I think James Cook needs a complement as a smaller back. And Davis looks like the guy. And maybe since Cook is smaller, Davis gets more work near the goal line than Cook does. Although we know Josh Allen likes to call his own number. So I'm not going to suggest that Ray Davis has 10 touchdown upside, but maybe he does score more rushing touchdowns than James Cook.
Debro, you went with another player who's dealing with an injury right now, but one that you like quite a bit.
Yeah, I mean, right now at this point in the draft, again, just taking volume value, and it's because they're banged up right now. But again, I mean, as my wide receiver 5, and I know that I doubled up on Colts receivers here, but again, I don't have a problem doubling up on players from the same offense if we think the offense is going to be good. I mean, you're just making a bet on that offense is going to be good. And with Josh Downs, if we knew, God, Worm, seriously, are you kidding me right now?
While he's talking, talking is crazy.
My last 2 picks.
I'm speechless. I don't even have words right now, and now I'm on the clock.
Picks were Marshawn Lloyd and Javon Baker, aka the D-Road special. I mean, this is
I'm not happy.
My last 3 picks are Jaden Daniels, Marshawn Lloyd, Javon Baker. That's like D-Bro's favorite draft he could possibly have.
I'm beside myself right now. I don't even have words for you. I don't even know.
I'm sorry. I'm trying to build a good team here.
Lord. Anywhere. I don't even know where I was. Just Josh Downs. But
yeah,
as my wide receiver 5 for this team, again, just taking the upside, making a bet on the Colts offense, and then going to Demarcus Robinson with this last pick. Building out a guy again, we talked about players that are being undervalued. Demarcus Robinson, what else does he have to show, man? I know everybody's all into Jordan Whittington and preseason love and stuff like that. Demarcus Robinson's going to be the wide receiver 3 in this offense. He was the wide receiver 31 in fantasy points per game after he earned the starting job last year. So at this point of the draft, I'm willing to take the shot on him.
This is the range in the draft where it kind of has fallen off for me. Even as recently as round 11, early round 12, there were a lot of names going off the board where I was like, yeah, I really like that pick. I would have loved to have had him. And now as we get into the middle of round 13, it's pretty quickly become, I'll take a shot here, but this is the type of player I'm going to drop really quickly this season if they don't start off well. So this is kind of the range for me where it does fall off a cliff a bit.
Yeah.
Fitz, you went with another wide receiver here as well, the mercurial Gabe Davis.
Yes, mercurial is a very good adjective for Mr. Gabe Davis, but the Jaguars did pay him a lot of money. He is going to be a fixture in 2 wide receiver sets, and maybe if Brian Thomas is a star from the get-go, there's not a lot of room for Gabe Davis to become fantasy relevant this year. But if Thomas isn't great right off the bat, I mean, it's possible. Like, I could see a 60, 70 catch season for Gabe Davis if things break right.
By the way, Trevor Lawrence just went here with the first pick of the 14th round, which is the last round we're drafting today. We're not doing kickers and defenses. That is just another sign that you can wait on quarterback. Yes. I really love Trevor Lawrence this season. Getting him in the 14th round is obscene. I love that pick, even though he already had Stroud on that team. But again, that's just great value. And again, a really good sign that you can wait on quarterback. So maybe taking Richardson early was a mistake by me. Terrell, you go with Darnell Mooney, who you were not super thrilled with me maybe not giving enough love to during Fantasy Fest earlier this week. So he's somebody that you're buying in on.
Yeah, I love Darnell Mooney. I think that, hey, if this is Kirk Cousins' offense, he's going to be able to project a lot of really good receivers. And yeah, Drake London is the easy answer, but Darnell Mooney is the only receiver on that roster that's had 1,000-yard season. So I think Darnell Mooney still has the talent. He's now got a better quarterback where they can get him the ball. So I definitely like grabbing Darnell Mooney late. And then I close things out with Will Levis because I did draft Tua, and I understand that Tua is no good to me in the month of December. And this month of December is actually really, really tough because he has to go to New York, to Cleveland, and then has to play at home against the 49ers. So I don't want anything to do with Tua towards the end of the season. However, Will Levis, who's getting Jacksonville and Indianapolis, 2 secondaries that I think are going to be rather weak this season in championship time, Will Levis is going to win me the league for sure.
Fitz, you took Alexander Madison with your final pick.
Yeah, we know the Raiders are going to want to run the ball with Antonio Pierce in command. It's sort of how it was last year. And yes, Zamir White is in line to be the lead back, but it was kind of interesting that Zamir played into the second half of the Raiders preseason game. Maybe this is more of a running back by committee than we thought. Like, I know Zamir is going to be the head of the committee, but I don't know. Maybe there's more work from Madison, who, by the way, people didn't hate until he got his chance to be a starting running back and kind of disappointed. I won't say failed, but disappointed last year. So I don't know. I mean, as a complimentary back, I think he's fine.
Debra, your final pick was Jordan Mason, right? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, really, he's making a push for the RB2 role, player that I've liked for some time. I mean, you look at it, I know we got nothing but small samples for Jordan Mason, but every time he's been given an opportunity, the tackle breaking metrics are good. He looks good. The buzz out of camp is very positive. And really, that's what you're doing in these last final few picks. You're shooting for upside. You're taking flyers on running backs that are one injury away. And we've talked about it the entire offseason about our concerns about Christian McCaffrey and the 417 touches that he rolled up last year, including the playoffs. Yeah, so I think taking Jordan Mason, he was in a list of a lot of different upside guys. Like, I could have taken a shot again on Cincinnati, gone with Jermaine Burton or Yoshibas or another few routes. Kamani Vidal was still out there, who I still think has a shot at leading the team in carries. I think that people are a little bit wrong and missing context about, like, they were so wrong, like, down on him for not playing parts of the preseason. But if they really look deeper, it's because he was banged up and the Chargers just were not talking about it a ton. So still willing to take shots on him. But yeah, there's a lot of guys at the end of drafts that I like.
So we're looking at the grades here. I finished up with Rashad Bateman, by the way, was my final pick. I'm projected to finish in
such a homer. Such a homer.
They believe in him. If he's healthy, he's going to be the number 2 receiver in the offense. I think Lamar is going to be even a better passer this year 2 in Todd Monken's offense. And again, there weren't a lot of players that I liked, so I'll take that swing on Bateman. All right, well, we'll see how it plays out. I don't know if that played into this grade, but I'm projected to finish in last after this one. Debro is 9th. Terrell is 11th. I am 12th. So 3 of the bottom 4 projected final standings are us. Fitz is all the way up, just sneaking into the playoffs at 6. So clearly we were playing with a bunch of sharps who did way better than we did in this mock draft. Like I said, I got a C grade, although if I look at the experts who like my draft the most, the expert who likes my draft the most of anybody is Ryan Wormley of Fantasy Pros, A plus 97 out of 100. So I drafted very true to myself. Dalton Del Don of Yahoo also liked my draft. Adam Dove, Ellis Johnson liked them as well. Debro, what was your summary looking like?
Nick Bodeford loved my draft, gave me a 99. I gave myself a 97, so shout out to me. Joey P gave me a 95. So a lot of love for my draft, even though I'm not very high in the standings. Chris Meany, staring at you. I see that 65 you gave me, though.
Meany also Chris. Hated my draft.
We'll talk.
Yeah, he gave me a 56.
It's okay, Meany. I'll text you after this. It's okay.
Fitz, what was your summary looking like? We have a muted Fitz.
First mute of the show.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be me.
Sorry
to be honest.
about that. Had a mask and cough. So I got a B and approval from Des Bieler of the Washington Post, my buddy Matthew Hill, a couple other guys, not so high on it. Rudy Gamble of Razzball. I'll remember that, Rudy. Dave Kluge of Football Guys. So, yeah, kind of a mixed bag. I knew people might not like my approach with the running wide receiver heavy. I personally think balance is overrated in fantasy drafts, but sometimes you get punished a little if you don't look to achieve balance in your drafts with the grades. So I'm also a little disappointed that I got a poor grade at tight end. I got the worst grade, actually. So Brock Bowers is going to make the critics pay for that one.
Terrell, what's your summary?
All right, so I got a C overall. Adam Dove, shout out to Adam, 95 out of 100. Shout out to him. Matt Donnelly, 91. Shout out to Matt. But Mark Ringo, I mean, Mark, we're going to have a conversation here. 53 out of 100. And you hate my Garrett Wilson? I just can't wait. I would love nothing more than Garrett Wilson to win Offensive Player of the Year. I would
Terrell, keep me in on that call. Shoot me a Zoom link or a text chain. Ringo gave me a 59, so
yep.
you know.
Yeah,
we got a conversation.
Ringo hated mine too. I got a 56.
I am also on Ringo's. You know what left.
Ringo is not winning fantasy this year. Ringo is not winning. I need to join whatever league Ringo is in. I'm going to win.
Yeah, who does he like if he hates all of our players? I wonder.
This has me thinking of that final diner scene in Pulp Fiction where Samuel L. Jackson keeps referring to the Tim Roth character, the male thief, as Ringo. So, yeah.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
I have seen that movie, by the way, Debra. I know you were going to say something. Yes,
I thought it was at plus money, so I still would have taken the bet, but you know.
I would throw out some quotes, but they're pretty much all inappropriate for this podcast.
Yeah. We'll probably get booted from YouTube.
We have a TV rating.
We have a lot of overlap on the sums down. Like Rudy Gamble also hated me. Chris Meany also hated me. Obviously, Mark Ringo. So that's interesting. When you guys look at the draft board, do you have like a favorite pick of your own? You can highlight somebody else's too, if you like. Like I know for me, I'll start off. I really like Brian Robinson in the 7th as my RB2 with the way I was building my team. And then maybe it didn't make sense with the way I built my team because I already had a quarterback. But in terms of pure value, Jaden Daniels in the 11th was definitely my favorite pick from myself. Debro, was there one that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, look, getting Devon Achane and his upside in the 3rd round is still a swing that I'm willing to take in every single draft. A lot of times, I mean, you'll see him go at the back end of the 2nd round. So when I feel like he falls into the 3rd round, it's just, I'm not going to say it's an auto pick, but he's on a very short list of players that I'm grabbing in the 3rd round.
Terrell, who's your favorite pick that you made?
Zamir White. I just believe in the talent of the player, and I believe in the offense. And this is Antonio Pierce, Super Bowl champion with the New York Football Giants. Hard smash mouth football. We're going to run the ball behind our offensive line, our very good offensive line, and we're going to make things easier on our quarterback. And Zamir White already shown the talent. He doesn't have the miles on the tread on the miles, however you say the saying, but he's got wheels for days. And so I really, really like Zamir White. But second, and probably what I like a little bit better, is your Brian Robinson pick. Getting Brian Robinson that late in the 7th round as your RB2 is amazing.
Terrell, I love that you're weaving in Giants takes into this. So, like, I'm expecting next mock, okay? We're going to get an OBJ pick that's inspired by your love of Eli Manning, right?
No, because Eli's no longer. OBJ's stock went down when Eli retired. Like when Eli said he's done, that was it for OBJ. And you know what? It is. It's okay. It's fine. Like
Fitz, who was your favorite standout pick?
After starting with 4 straight wide receivers, getting Kenneth Walker in the fifth,
that was great.
Was pretty nice. And I just got to give a shout out to Skull 18, and it does pain me as a Packer backer to say anything nice about a Vikings fan, but I thought he got nice value throughout the draft. Just sort of taking it as it came to him. He even stooped to taking a Green Bay Packer with the second to last pick, Luke Musgrave, as a second tight end. So hats off to Skull 18. I thought he had a really nice draft, and so did a lot of the other users.
Yeah, there were no standout bad drafts to me. Like I thought everybody did a pretty good job. I said it in the moment. I really loved the J.K. Dobbins pick in round 11. That is a sign to me I need to take him earlier. I liked Chase Brown with the last pick of round 8. I liked obviously if you look at kind of the steals that everybody got according to our system, pretty much everybody's quarterback was listed as a steal. So again, they definitely waited on that, and that is I think a very smart thing to do in a 1 QB format. By the way, I suppose I should mention who actually did the best, and that was Bro. I got this. He finished kind of first overall in this mock draft ranking. He had the number 2 pick, so his picks looked like CeeDee Lamb, Josh Allen, Travis Etienne, T. Higgins, Alvin Kamara, Calvin Ridley, Evan Ingram, Tajay Spears, Jordan Addison, Jameson Williams, Nick Chubb, Jared Goff, Mike Williams, and Damian Pierce. That was his team, and he finished number 1. Also doing well was Burf.
Somebody that took Mike Williams finished number 1.
Yeah, well, he did well enough everywhere else, I suppose. And then second and third actually tied Burf and O'Haran Sean, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. They were pretty close to Bro. I got this. So that was the top 3 according to our projected standings. Debra, any other kind of final thoughts on how you did, your overall strategy, what you would do differently?
I mean, I really wish, like, if I could take it back, I probably would, like, I wish I would have gotten, like, Drake London to kind of anchor this team. But if, that's kind of, if you're going to go running back in the first round, I'm looking at that kind of shelf of London, Olave as kind of being my safety for wide receiver 1. Like, I don't hate Pittman there, and I talked about him earlier. But looking at how I built the team and stuff, I mean, overall, I like the team. The only other thing I probably would have changed is seeing how far quarterbacks fell in this. I would have gone with a wide receiver or running back in round 8 and taken back the pick of Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I feel similar with Richardson. Even though I'm happy with what my thought process was in the moment, they just went so darn late that I do wish I kind of waited. And I'd be perfectly content with Jaden Daniels as my QB1 in the round 11 and not having taken Richardson. Fitz, what was your kind of overarching takeaway?
Sort of an on-brand draft for me. Pound the wide receivers early on, try to find value at running back, and draft Brock Bowers. So
it's a pretty team, Fitzy.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, buddy.
It's a really good team.
I'm surprised you're projected to finish 6th. Like, if
I gave you crap about Zeke, but this is a good team.
Well, what's really good about it,
it was the Zeke pick. Like, if you didn't take Zeke, you probably would have been first. Like, that's really what tanked your draft.
What I think is really good about Fitz's draft is that it's a very manageable team. Like, this is a team where maybe it doesn't look as good in the draft grades. I think you take this roster into week 1, you can manage this roster with a bit of injury luck to a very successful season. I think it's a very great foundation to build on draft day, and it's good to remember that you're really building a foundation. This is not going to be what your roster looks like in week 14. So I think Fitz actually crushed it, as much as it pains me to admit that. And then Terrell, what did you think about your draft? Kind of any overall takeaways?
I was going back and forth very early in the draft if I was going to take a kind of a hero RB selective and go with Jahmyr Gibbs very early instead of Devontae Adams. Kind of wish I did that just to kind of see how it play out. I do a lot of wide receiver heavy stuff, and I do like Gibbs. I do trust Gibbs as a player, but the David Montgomery thing, and I'm really, really high on David Montgomery, that just kind of split it for me.
All right, we'll get out of there on that. Thank you, everybody, for participating, and especially the folks from Reddit for joining us for today's PPR mock draft. And thank you for the folks on Discord as well. Be sure to be checking out our Discord. We are constantly going in there, answering questions, having chats, doing stages. I know Fitz is doing one, on the Dynasty show. So we're in there all the time. And we are also constantly popping in there to say, hey, we're doing a mock draft. So if you want to appear on the show, that's a good opportunity as well. So thank you everybody for the support. Also, thank you again. I know it's a day later now, but thank you everybody for the support on Fantasy Fest yesterday. I know we're all still recovering from that marathon live stream, but it was super fun. And the love we got from the audience, and some folks were on there the full 5 hours. Also, shouts to Sal, who produced it for all 5 hours behind the scenes. He was a total superstar. So for everybody who participated, for everybody who supported, that was really cool of you guys. So thank you so much for that as we sit here a day later. But for Debro and Fitz and Terrell, I'm Ryan Wormley. Thanks everybody for tuning into this mock draft. We'll see you again next time.